Hello and welcome to ETG's The State of Play, the show where we used to ask what the hell is going on, and we now ask you where your net's going on holiday. I'm Sam Clark. I'm the co-founder of Experience Travel Group, and I'm joined as ever by my fellow co-founder and all-round travel geek, Melissa Nicholas. So, Melissa, welcome again. How are you and where are we going this week?
Yes, I'm good. And we've got lots of updates today, including some news from Thailand and India.
Awesome. Well, with no further ado, let's go to the check-in. Melissa, 60 seconds, spotlight on you. Let's go.
Well, we've got lots more good news this time. In a nutshell, there are thankfully no longer any countries in Asia at all on the red list. And I believe that the FCDO advisories relating to COVID have also now all been scrapped. So this means that if you're double vaccinated or under 18, you can come back into the UK from anywhere in Asia pretty easily, almost like the old days, really. So hopefully we won't have to spend too much more time on these videos talking about all that red tape and red lists anymore, and we can start focusing more on what's actually going on and what it's going to be like in each country. So with that in mind, we've got Oman and the Maldives ready to go, borders open and perfect for winter holidays. Sri Lanka's now open and they're out of lockdown. Cases are really low again. And the good news is they've largely scrapped PCR testing on arrival, and we are resuming holidays there on the 1st of November. And then India has announced that they'll be reopening borders this week. And there's some big news from Thailand, which is just coming in. We've only really heard this in the last 24 hours. They've somewhat unexpectedly decided to put aside their 4-phase opening plan and open up quarantine-free travel across the board to double vaccinated tourists from 10 countries, including the US and the UK, from the 1st of November.
Brilliant. Okay, well that is quite a lot to digest there. So let's try and take you from the check-in to the departure lounge and just dive down into that, see exactly what that means. So if I'm a person wanting to book a trip to India, when can I go?
Well, as I understand it, India is they're opening the borders from the 15th of October, but that's going to be in quite a limited way. And I think to start off with for the first month, it's mainly going to be charter flights, and then they're opening much more widely for quarantine-free travel from the 15th of November. I think that there's a lot of details that we're not quite sure of yet, such as how easy it's going to be to cross border from one state to another. But I believe it's going to be possible to have a sort of normal holiday there probably from the beginning of 2022.
Okay, and that's for double vaccinated travellers, presumably?
Double vaccinated, yeah. I think most of these openings are going to be contingent on people being double vaccinated, as controversial as that may be.
Okay, and from there might be a possibility of getting some winter sun in places like Kerala, even as early as December.
That's right, but it might be that like I said, the details aren't clear, but it might be that you can definitely go to one state, but it might be that you're not allowed to sort of do a huge sort of epic trip around India, where you're that might be a bit complicated until next year.
Okay, and same question for Thailand, really. I'm desperate to get away. When can I go to Thailand, and what restrictions are we looking at there?
Well, you can go to Thailand tomorrow if you want to go, because there's already these sandbox schemes and everything going on. But from the 1st of November, as I mentioned, that there's going to be a much more wider opening for people from certain countries. We don't have all the details yet because it's a kind of a breaking news story. But they did have quite a complex 4-stage opening plan in place, but they've obviously cottoned on to the fact that lots of countries like the UK are easing restrictions, lots of people are starting to travel again, and that they're going to miss out on a big piece of the winter travel action if they don't ease things up. So from the 1st of November, it appears that you can pretty much go anywhere in Thailand. What we're not clear on yet is the exact details around testing. So we know that there's going to be a PCR test before you go, as there is with most destinations. And we think there's possibly going to be some kind of PCR test on arrival, but we're not exactly sure of that. I'm sure that's going to be clarified one way or another in the next few days.
Brilliant. Okay. And what's the latest with Sri Lanka? Obviously, we covered that in our last State of Play, but where are we at now with Sri Lanka?
So Sri Lanka is open, and like I said, they've dropped the PCR test on arrival for I believe for double vaccinated people. Obviously, we're in the process of working through our own travel ready protocol, and this is going to be subject to the report from Tushni, who works for us in Sri Lanka, and also our colleague James, who is we're sending out. I think he's actually flying as we speak. And with so many small hotels and local experiences in Sri Lanka compared to, say, somewhere like the Maldives, we felt that it was really important to take these steps and just to see how everyone's doing out there, how things are going, and just be really sure that we can offer the best possible all-round experience in Sri Lanka. And we're pretty confident that it will all be okay, but we just felt that it was best to sort of just do that extra bit of due diligence, and we plan to, like I said, start our holidays there from the 1st of November.
Brilliant, and we're really happy because we're seeing bookings coming in now in really good steady numbers. So, what sort of destinations are people looking to book travel to at the moment?
Well, they're sort of fallen into two camps really. So we've got a lot of people who want to get away pretty soon, so October half term, and sort of Christmas time, and for those sort of times, we're looking more at Oman, the Maldives, some Sri Lanka. But sort of the places where people can just go and have quite a straightforward kind of beach holiday, really. But further up, beyond that, people are sort of booking all sorts of things really. Sri Lanka obviously is very popular, Thailand, and other destinations as well. And what I'm also noticing as well is a lot of people are sort of having a sneaky last minute holiday and then sort of planning a big trip for later next year.
Well, why not? We've got a lot to make up for, haven't we? So, thank you for that, Melissa. Now we're going to the section of the show where we say, don't quote us on this, but Melissa, what have you got for us this week?
Well, I think given the news from Thailand, it's perhaps likely that neighbouring Cambodia might be inclined to follow suit and open soon. A lot of the transport links are in through Thailand, and people often combine the two destinations, so that's potentially really good. But on the flip side of that, given that it's all positive news, I thought something that's a bit less positive. We've heard that Laos might be a bit more cautious, and that Vietnam in particular could keep things quite tight and only open a small set of locations really well into 2022. But of course, as we've seen with Thailand, things can change very quickly, and perhaps what they do will really depend on how things pan out as the rest of the world opens up to tourism.
Yeah, thanks, Melissa. I think it's really important that we tell people straight what's going to happen, and as we open up and go through this period of uncertainty too. So, let's go now to the weather with the actual Holly from Holidays Travel. Holly, we've heard some great news about Thailand today. Can you let us know what the weather will be like? What can people expect over winter and beyond in Thailand?
Yep. Well, the news about Thailand couldn't come at a more convenient time, as Thailand's dry season actually starts in November and it runs all the way through to April. So, those looking to get away soon are not only likely to expect probably fewer crowds, but also really glorious hot and sunny days too. Plus, as we're just coming out of Thailand's rainy season, you can expect the mountainous jungle covered north to be especially lush and green. And the islands will be really, really beautiful. So there's no better time to go and sort of sip on cocktails and enjoy the country's many southern beaches. So, really ideal time to go for this winter.
Well, that's all we've got time for today. Thank you, Melissa. Thank you, Holly. And don't forget that you can be the very first to know on all of our new ideas, holidays, and when anything happens by signing up to our email bulletin today. The link should be around above or below this screening. Thank you very much for watching. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time. And so it's goodbye from me.